Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well. Hopefully Bernard Dineen will join us in a short while. I just sent him the link, so fingers crossed. I was a bit late, it's a bit tardy on my part. But we're here, we're going to chat. If Bernard joins me, we'll chat about the FA Cup final yesterday. The atmosphere, obviously Bernard was there. He saw a little bit of trouble on the way back. I think he obviously wasn't involved. Bernard's too sensible for that, but possibly he's possibly too old for that stuff anymore. He's a good old boy as Bernard. So hopefully Bernard will join us. But, you know, let's just see if he sent me a message. He hasn't sent me a message yet. So hopefully he'll get that link and he'll join us. Let me just send him a message. So hopefully get that. It's my fault for not sending it him earlier. So anyway, that's by the by. What does it feel like, guys? What does it feel like to be not only champions of England again? Hey, Bernard's here. Let's drag him in. Bernard. Oh, I thought you were doing your hair there.
Yeah. Well, it gets a bit messy when you've been had a rough night, you know.
I tell you what, you got your bolt from the blue t-shirt on. I've got to wear this.
I wore it yesterday, so I wore it 3 times so far this season. We won every game, so I might wear it in Istanbul next week.
I'm surprised you've not been abused by people who apparently think you've got a high opinion of yourself.
All very quiet. I mean, I was in the Green Man, didn't get approached by anybody, good or bad. So I'll take that as a good. I got shouted at by United fans, but I don't think that was anything to do with Bolt from the Blue.
Now I've got to wear this shirt. I've worn it so many times. In fact, yesterday I was wearing a t-shirt underneath, and at halftime I thought, no, I've got to take the t-shirt off. I've got to just have, you know, I've got to have skin in the game. Got to have skin in the game. Because whilst I don't think I'm going to let us down, but whilst wearing this normally from the start of a game, we win. Yeah.
Well, I've never been superstitious, but I didn't want to go full on. And a lot of the City shirts, so when it's warm, they get a bit clingy and sweaty. Yeah. So with this being cotton, nice cotton shirt, I thought, well, I've got another cotton one with a little picture of Aguero on it, and I might take that to Istanbul as well. And take these two, swap the two.
Yeah. You going to Istanbul?
I am, yes. We're going on Friday, coming back Monday.
You kept that quiet.
Well, did I tell you the story about my lad's ticket? Did I tell you that?
Tell us all the stories while I asked mine.
I mean, I got mine on the Tuesday, obviously. I got mine for €70, one of the cheap ones, because I'm on the cup scheme. But my lad wasn't. So when it got to Tuesday, where the season card holders could claim their ticket, obviously there's only really the 425 and 600 quid left at that stage. And I mean, I'm not, you know, if I'd had the money, I would have paid for my lad, but obviously he can't sort of go to 425 quid for a ticket. So anyway, he tried to get on, he couldn't get on it. He said, Dad, I can't get on with my code. So I said, oh, give us it. And what he'd done, he'd registered at UEFA, but forgot to leave his mobile number. So he wasn't being active. So I put his mobile number on and registered for him, got on straight away. And anyway, yeah, they were all 425 quid tickets left and 600. So I thought, I don't know, we can't do it. Anyway, I went on Twitter and mentioned it, and obviously someone came back. There's a couple of people did it eventually, but said, just keep refreshing the page, and occasionally a category 3, which is the €180 ones, will drop out. You know, one will drop back out. So I did for 3 hours, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Thursday. I refreshed the page. I sat there trying to do other things as well, every 2 or 3 minutes, and one dropped out about 4 o'clock for 180. So bang, got it, confirmed, invoiced, and everything from UEFA. So yeah, so I got, and someone else did it as well. Some other girl commented later. She'd done exactly the same. She'd went on, and literally got one about 5 o'clock or something like that.
So how much would the tickets have been otherwise? 400 quid.
425, cheapest.
You basically saved yourself 200 and
yeah, that's quid, not euros. I think it was about €460 or something like that. So it's about 425 quid.
I'm struggling as it is. So you paid 180. So you saved 245. Best part, 250 notes.
Well, my lad has. I'm not going halves on him. I did that for the FA Cup. I'm not doing it for this one.
You save yourself 250 notes. I mean, I tell you what, that's the best 3 hours work you've ever done, innit? 250 quid.
I had the stress, mate, though. I mean, and then obviously I had to think about getting there because I hadn't planned anything. And I thought, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it Thursday. I'll just go on Friday morning. And to get flat, we've not got anywhere to stay yet or get a break, if you like. We're in hotel, we're in airports at the moment, but I'm going to try and get a couple of nights. And it's just 500 quid each for the flights and flights there and back. I've got to arrange transfers and everything, obviously, but I was happy with that. And that's from Manchester to Istanbul direct. But coming back from the other one, the SAW one, the one that's a bit further out, coming back. But I'd rather get there and mess about coming back. As long as I can get there direct, I'm fine.
Yeah,
so,
getting there is where the stress is, isn't it?
Yeah. You know? So I arrive Friday night, so I've got time to get an hotel and stay the night and sort out for the Saturday. And then I can, Sunday and Monday's going to be a bit of a pain. But so hopefully it won't be too, if we're celebrating, it won't be too much of a pain.
Oh, fantastic. That's a story that's warmed the cockles of my heart. It really has. Obviously, guys, I don't like to keep going over it, but obviously I wasn't there yesterday. My mum is back to being seriously unwell, and sadly,
I might not have got there myself yesterday, but that's another story. I'm not going to go into that now. There's something happened with me like you, Ray, which almost totally caught the thing up. But
well, I mean, I'll tell you the full story. On Tuesday, I said to Bernard, "Has your lad got a ticket for the?" You thought I was talking about the because I decided that I had so much, I call it bad luck, so many things going wrong, and my mum was really ill, and she'd got slightly better, but so Tuesday I thought I'm not going. I made no plans. And then on Thursday I thought, you got a little bit, and I thought, I don't really want to miss this.
And you hope. It's the hope that kills you, isn't it? At the end of it, it's the hope that you.
And then I thought, okay. But then I thought, because my car broke down on Sunday, and I thought, well, I don't really want to hire a car. I tried to get everywhere I'd looked. Obviously, the trains were a problem, and most of the sports clubs they were full up. So I was asking around, and then on Friday, my mum got a bit worse, and I thought, I'd rather.
Yeah, because you can't fully enjoy it, can you? That's the problem. You can't fully. I mean, at this point in time, we should be really celebrating, but you of course, and me to a lesser because of what I've got, which I'm not going to go into any great detail. I'm not fully enjoying it, which is a horrible thing to say for something so wonderful, which what it is from a football point of view.
There's part of me that's enjoying it. Obviously, You got one part of your half.
That's right. It's difficult. It is difficult. I'm sure. I'm sure we're not alone. I'm sure there's other people out there in the same sort of.
And it's like it can't burst out. It bursts out a little bit. It just can't. It's like alien bursting out your chest.
I've just done my player rating show, and I'm not unhappy, but I know I'm not. Bubbly. So someone might comment about it, but everyone has their own things, don't they, going on, and people don't know, do they? So
it's only. I'll be honest. It's only in recent times that I stopped going to. I didn't go to the last league. What was it? The game against Spurs. So I didn't go to that one. The League Cup, was that the League Cup against Spurs that you went to in lockdown?
Well, the cup for the cup passed just after COVID. Yeah.
So I missed that one, and that was the first one I missed. I'd go to all FA Cup semi-finals and finals since.
I can't even remember. I mean, there's 2000. I can't even remember why I got a ticket, and so I can't understand it unless a lot of people just chose not to go. I'm not too sure, but I got one easy enough. I remember, but I can't even think back now and think. Because it was only 2,000 tickets. You think even on the cup scheme, which I was at the time, but you'd think there'd be at least that before it got down to my points level. But it is what it is. Obviously, as I say, I don't know why, but circumstances.
So I missed that FA Cup. I was sat here with me. Someone said, "Have you got a ticket?" I said, "Yeah, I got a ticket, but it's 1 hour."
Well, you'd forgot about that, though. I remember you saying about that Carabao Cup final. You'd forgot all about it because you were still going on about the 81. I said, "Well, we got a bit of revenge." You said, "What do you mean you've got revenge?" I said, "We beat with the league. It beat with the Carabao Cup." What?
Honestly, it was because it was in that COVID stuff. It's because I've been going to every one. I've been going to them. I've been going to all cup semi-finals and finals since I think the Wigan one. Because I didn't, because I was even then I was living in France, but for the 2011 one I was living in France. So getting back and going to games was not easy. So but after that I was going to every time, every Community Shield, even when it was at Villa Park, I would go all the FA Cup semi-finals and finals. I would go to, as you know, because if you've had a drought, you're going to keep drinking, aren't you? If you've had night for so long, and everyone's such an occasion. But the thing is, you miss going down with some mates. You know, I mean, normally most of these I'd go down. Initially, I'd go down with my kids, so I'd go down to Carabao Cup finals. I'd take one kid at a time. Would never take them both, but and then I did. Obviously, we're doing some stuff for Man City Fan TV, so you had other people there. You'd meet people as well. You know, I remember meeting Blackpool Blu-ray and his family a few years ago. That was nice. I got a picture with them. I tell you what, I can't believe I was wearing those tight jeans. I didn't realise I'd put on as much timber as I had. You know, so far I could get into these jeans and this t-shirt, this shirt or whatever. I might dig that picture out one day. But so I used to go to everything. So it's but I miss it. Yeah, I miss. I was watching the game on my own, and my lads used to be season card holders, but now they're teenagers. They're not that interested in football. They're interested in a bit of music and computer games.
Girls, or boys, depending. Oh, but whatever.
You're still young, my lads. And so my youngest one came in at half-time, said, you didn't tell me the game was on. I said, can you show me? Because he said, can you rewind for the goals? I said, well, it's half-time. They're going to show them anyway. And then he disappeared again. Because, if I'm watching telly, I'm not going to mither them to do something.
Well, it wasn't the greatest game, mate, unless you died in the Hull United or City fan, was it? Let's be fair about it.
No. So we were about 12 minutes into the show. What was the atmosphere like? From my side, watching it on telly, obviously we scored straight away. So
it did help. I think it did help. But I've never, apart from the Tottenham game, which sounds daft, that is the best atmosphere the City fans have created, I think, at a Wembley final, even going back to the 70s, 70s that I was there, with standing and stuff with, the Newcastles and the Tottenhams and stuff like that. That was the best atmosphere I've seen. I didn't go to the semi-final against United. I watched that at City Square. I couldn't get a ticket for that one back in 2011. So I don't know what that was like. But obviously, yesterday was superb. I mean, we didn't hear the United fans, whether they were singing or not, or it came over on the telly, certainly from where we were. And I think we heard them cheer when they scored, obviously, when they got the equaliser. But, I mean, for us, from where we were, it was tremendous. It was excellent. Best I'd been in, anyway, at Wembley. As I say, apart from, ironically, when there was only 2,000 of us there against Tottenham, that was a good one as well, which sounds daft, doesn't it? But
Did you take part in the Poznan when the team was announced?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's organic, wasn't it, with the semi-final? It was more. This was a bit more planned. A lot of people were posting it, weren't they, to do it? But I mean, you think about the Poznan at the Etihad the last few weeks, months. The family stand's been starting it sometime. So I mean, it's the Poznan wave now, isn't it? I call it the Poznan wave, right? Like a Mexican wave.
Yeah, because it starts at one.
It was organised, but I think it was quite effective. Perhaps not because it's not organic. It's perhaps not as good as it was in the 2011 semi-final, of course.
Do you sing along? Because we used to sing. I think
I still shout, "Let's all do the Poznan." A lot of people don't.
Let's all do the Poznan.
That didn't sort of come over. You just from what I watched a bit on YouTube, and it was you could see them doing it, but you couldn't hear any singing because a lot of people don't. They just bounce up and down. They don't even sing anything. But I do. But I'm old school.
There's a combination of things, mate. There's a combination of things. Obviously, younger fans don't, because we kind of stopped doing it for a few years. So younger fans kind of missed out. I remember going to, was it the FA Cup game where Mike was supposed to turn up, and I would normally sit in the south stand. Obviously, that was full of Arsenal dirty bleeders. So I think I was in a Colin Bell or wherever I was at one of the sides, and I had fans talking about they didn't know what the Poznan was. No. I couldn't believe it. Someone asking them, one guy tried to explain it. I'm thinking, you're too young to explain it properly because you only half explain it. City do this when they're winning. Well, it's not just simple as that. There was, we've been through it. There was that history of Lech Poznan. We played them back in 2011, I think, was it? Anyway, 2011 or whatever.
Yeah, one of the early games, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, it's obviously before the FA Cup finals, FA Cup semi-final. So, it was 2010-11, something like that.
Yeah. So, and we beat them, and they did the Poznan, so we just copied it. basically. We nabbed it from them. You know, I think Celtic copied it as well.
I mean, they do it for about 15 minutes, don't they? I mean, they do it. I mean, I can't not watch the match for 15. You know, I can watch it. I can not watch it. I'm like this half the time anyway for 30 seconds. Never mind doing it for 15 minutes they do. But if we were down, if we were 4-0 down, I probably would. But even then, it'd be hard not to watch the match.
Absolutely. I mean, look. I mean, there's a few clubs who do it. I mean, you go on to.
Well, I think the thing with City as well, we've adapted it slightly. As I say, it's got this Poznan wave now, which is a new sort of thing. But then other clubs are doing it, but you know, and obviously it's still attributed to the Poznan. So all credit to that. You know, at least we give them full credit for it. I mean, Celtic do something similar, don't they? I think Celtic do something very, very similar to it. I don't know what they call theirs. They probably call it the Celtic. I have no idea, but. Yeah, it's just fun, innit? It's just you come up with something, you just do it and get on with it. It's a bit lighter, and that's what we need. And you know, obviously, there's a bit of not the nicest atmosphere at times yesterday. Sort of, fortunately, it policed it quite well. Away from the ground, perhaps not so much. On the services going home, it was a disaster, I believe. Services were being shut down, etc., etc. I've seen an image today of a City fan with an inflatable plane, so obviously that's not going down too well. But again, I don't want United to turn into like Liverpool. They're turning into victims FC. I don't want that. Yes, we have idiot fans, we have knobheads. Of course we do. Every club does. But all I know is from United fans is that they mainly do have a lot more percentage-wise than perhaps even though they're a big club of idiots. And we stopped at Stafford on the way back, which is a City service station. So it should be City coaches. We pulled up. There was another City coach there already. There was United coach, so why they'd gone on there, I don't know. And all it was were young lads just basically trying to provoke City fans. But they called me a specky-eyed, bald old. You know, and I was just looking at it. I wasn't doing anything, you know, and the stewards had said, I just don't cause trouble. Get off, get your toilet break, get back on quick, we'll go. So they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But I've seen this many times from United. They goad the City fans. And yes, we're not beyond reproach. Of course we're not. But, you know, some will react. They've been on the beer, they've been on the sauce all day. Some are going to react. And all United fans do is wind up City fan. They did it in the semi-final, I believe. That's all I heard. Yes, there will be City fans causing trouble. We know that.
Absolutely.
But United fans are horrible. They are horrible. I think percentage-wise of their support, I'm sorry, there's a lot of horrible, and a lot of young ones are horrible now as well. It's not been grown out. I knew a lot of my age who were nasty, and they've got a lot of young nasty ones now. And before and after the game, there was a few United fans mixed in with the City fans, you know, before and after. I never saw any animosity towards them or anything like that. But I honestly don't believe that would have been reciprocated if there were City fans, odd ones in the United end, because they kept well apart in the ground and outside and stuff. But, you know, all right, I've no proof that, but I'm sure the way we treat them in a minority, if you like, where there might only be a couple of them, is far better than how they treat us.
Absolutely.
That's just how it is.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you get, as you say, you get bad fans in any fan base. And I've seen City fans, I think it was against Brighton. I've said this story a few times where it's a group of fans who went up to a Brighton fan and just clocked him. The guy wasn't even looking, and he clocked him from behind. Then the coppers came and he feigned his innocence. Hey, sorry, mate, if you're going to do something like that, well, hey, if you're going to be Billy Big Bollocks when you're clocking someone when they're not even looking, why don't you just admit it? I mean, that's how pathetic that guy was, and his mates were there saying, "Oh, he didn't do it. He didn't." You know, look, if my mate does something like that, I'd just walk away. You know, at best, because it's just, and they would just Brighton fans having this was a few years ago, and I think the semi-final, they're just having a good time. You know, they were just walking.
Yeah, but I must admit, in the same thing, I got but I got intimidated by Brighton fans at that. You know, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just walking down the road. So again. You know, it's one of the nicest finals I went to was Watford. Yeah, they were brilliant. Yeah. Watford fans were absolutely brilliant. I remember interviewing them on the tube getting there. You know, and I don't think there's much with Sheffield United. I think that went off quite easily, didn't it, in the semi-final? I'm not sure there was I never saw anything. I didn't see much on Twitter of any problems at Sheffield United semi-final. So it can be done. We know it can be done, but obviously sitting United at this point in time, it's pretty toxic, and it always unless someone does something about it or makes a stand amongst the fans, it'll stay like that.
I think it'll just get worse because we hated them because when we were rubbish and they were winning everything, we hated them, but not to the extent that we would just start. I'm speaking in general terms, that we would cause trouble, that lots of fans would have that animosity to such an extent that they want to get into a bit of fisticuffs or whatever. Whereas now, because they've had this entitlement, because they've had all these years of putting us down, they can't handle it. They can't handle it. And then the younger ones coming through just see this as an excuse to cause a bit of trouble. I mean, our fans, some of our younger ones, they look at it as an excuse to cause trouble. But the United ones just go, that one that got arrested for the 97 shirt. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I mean, he's going to get the book thrown at him and he's going to deserve it. I don't know what motivates someone to get up and think, yeah, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go and get a shirt with that on. I'm going to go and bait people and think that's all right. It's absolutely bonkers. Look, we haven't talked about the game yet. I mean, everybody's seen the game. There's bits and pieces, and we'll go on to Shan's point in a second. But overall, I mean, there's no question City deserved that. United had was one shot on target in the whole game, and that was that ridiculous.
I mean, I was surprised when I saw the stats and they'd had 13 shots to our 11. There, you can't remember it. And obviously, I'd only just watched that last minute thing where it hit the bar and went on the roof of the net. And obviously, that was so close. You know, that just shows you, it doesn't matter how much you dominate a game. You know, there's just that little one moment might change it. Superb block from Ortega. I hadn't appreciated what he'd done to save that as well at the time. Obviously, it's up the other end, so it's difficult. You know, when it's quite my old eyes, you know, to see what's going on up the other end, sort of thing. But yeah, I think we thoroughly deserved it. United could say yes. By the end, he could have nicked it and took it to extra time, which is very true. But it would have been not a travesty, but it certainly wouldn't have been. It would have been fair. What happened? I mean, and it was difficult. It was difficult. There's a lot of nerves on show. I think we weren't smooth. I mean, that goal, of course, settled the nerves greatly, didn't it? Of course, United took a little bit of time to recover. We perhaps could have gone a couple ahead at that stage, but we didn't take advantage. All I'm thinking now, obviously, we've won this. I'm looking forward to Milan now and thinking we're going to have to be a hell of a lot better again, a lot cleverer, a lot smarter in the head as well against Milan. You know, Grealish can't be doing all this whinging and moaning that he was doing yesterday. Someone's got to get a grip and say, we've got to be canny. We've got to be canny in this. And Milan will be a far tougher prospect than this was yesterday. The
thing is, you're right. I mean, this game's won. We move on. Obviously, there's a bit of nerves because it's the finals against them lot. Now we're going to that Champions League final. I think losing it 2 years ago will help us. Winning the league and the FA Cup will actually help us. There's going to be some nerves.
Yeah, and it's got to. I mean, if we'd gone into this losing to United, I mean, as fans, we would have been gutted. Of course we would, and it would have to pick ourselves up, and the team would have to pick itself up, and they would. But this is, again, it's all about momentum. Yeah, we're not playing at our best at this point in time. The last 3 or 4 games, we've not played at our best. But hey, you know, we're City, so it doesn't matter. You know, we can if we're not playing at our best and we're winning games, that's the mentality you want. Mentality to win things.
In the last 7 or 8 minutes of this show, I think there's 2 things I want to talk about. One about players who played well, who played badly, and then finish off by talking about, I'm just checking if the messages coming through, talk about Gundogan, obviously, the elephant in the room. Is he staying? Is he going? So let's talk about, first of all, who played well for City. Who were your star men? Give me 3 star men.
3. I thought, yes, obviously Gundogan. I'll keep Gundogan at the top. He was our main man. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to go Ortega, actually, based on that last minute thing. I mean, that was crucial. I mean, absolutely. As I say, I didn't appreciate it at the time. Couldn't really see what it was. It's only when I look back at it. I wouldn't have put Ortega up there originally if you'd asked me that question, but certainly looking back now, Ortega. And it's got to be that defensively, I just thought we were generally pretty excellent. Rodri was okay. He tried to swamp him. He coped admirably. But defensively, I'd have to go for Akanji again, who was asked to play out of his natural position. I just thought he was brilliant. Like Aki before him, because I thought Aki would play yesterday, so there might be some little problem with Aki, I think, as well, which I'm worried about a little bit, because I think if he'd have been fully fit, I can't see why Aki didn't start that game yesterday.
I think the only thing for me about Aki is he's not been playing. So he's not got that run of games. He's not
certainly at Wembley. You say when it's draining, it's a hot day. He probably would have struggled. But no, I'm not saying Akanji had the most fantastic game in the world, but just because of what Pep's asking him to do, I would say Gundogan, Ortega, and Akanji of the team. They all did the bits. Don't get me wrong, or to a lesser extent, but those three for me perhaps were our better players.
I mean, I'll chuck John Stones into the equation because some of he was playing. He was like Lothar Matthäus. He was like a sweeper. He was moving into midfield. He was going into attack. He was in the box. Yeah. I mean, he was like, Yaya Toure at times. There was one moment he got the ball on the edge of our box, facing the keeper.
Yeah, I saw that on playback where he had about 5 United players in and around him. He just strolled away.
He let 2 players come. They thought at the last second he's going to pass it back to the keeper. Okay, so they were reluctant, but when they came, he just turned around and ran off with the ball. I was creasing myself. That was brilliant. There were times he was picking that ball up in midfield. He was an extra man, so he was picking it up and spraying it out wide. There was a times when he was in the box, so he collects the ball in their penalty area, and he's centre back, and he's playing like a false nine. He's or attacking midfielder. And then there were times when he chased back and do the defending. So I thought he had a great game. A lot of pundits have obviously said similar stuff. So I thought those guys, Akanji as well, especially, like you say, out of position, especially after that dirty foul by Casemiro. I mean, you've seen it again.
It was given against us.
Do you think it was a red card? For the tackle or a yellow?
Well, it's certainly is it orange they call it between the two. It's definitely an orange, but I mean, they got the free kick, didn't they? From I believe, at the time. So you feigned injury, mate, after you've done it. That's what I'm worried about with Milan. Milan will do that sort of thing and pretend they've been injured, and hopefully the ref will be all right. But
the thing is, with that, he should have got a yellow card for the foul, but obviously VAR can't give yellow cards, and he should have got a yellow card for feigning injury, for calling the ref and play acting. So he should have been sent off. Fred got away with a couple before he got finally booked, which was poor, I thought. So yeah, that's bad. But so they were lucky. Penalty. Shame. Sad thing is, it was a penalty. But it's the rule that's terrible that allows that to be a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, VAR is supposed to report to the referees it's clear and obvious. I don't know. Whatever you're convinced, I'm never saying it's going to be clear and obvious that. I mean, once he went to the monitor, because we didn't know what was going on in the ground, obviously. It was about 3.5 minutes later, 4 minutes later. We didn't even know what had happened. Yeah. But, I mean, once he goes to the monitor, and I think there's been 1 or 2 refs this season have said, no, I agree with what I did, but not many. Yeah. That happened very often. Very, rare as rocking horse poop. It's not happened often. So, yeah, I mean, but as you say, yeah, I can see why it was given, and it probably more likely to be given in the Champions League, I think, than our league, that sort of thing. But, yeah, but he can't do it. The stills look bad, but if you watch it in real, I mean, it's just his body momentum, and it's silly. And as he said, they probably might change the rule again, but that's how it is.
Yeah. Who had a poor game?
I'm not going to say anyone had a poor game, mate. I'm not. I did that on my player. I did that with me. I've not put it out there yet. My talking point show. I say who has a good game and who had a not so good. I don't say poor game. I say a not so good game. But I've left it there for this one because I'm going to allow for all the stress and the stress on the City players at the moment. We're going through a hell of a lot at the moment, and all credit to them. I don't think anyone had a poor game anyway. And I think they all did the bit to a lesser extent from being brilliant downwards, from Gundogan downwards.
All right. Well, I'll not sit on the fence. That's my lad. I've been ringing him because I asked him to bring me a drink, and he didn't answer my message.
Well, who was less? I'm not sitting on the fence, but who was less than perfect? I would say Haaland was less than perfect.
Yeah, Haaland.
He wasn't. But he did what? Yeah. Grealish was less than perfect.
I'd go a bit further. I think Grealish was poor.
But but again, Bernardo was poor. But they were doing a job on the day in very difficult circumstances, and you have to allow for that.
I think overall, Bernardo was average because he had some good moments and some poor moments. I think.
What was that running with Martinez where he shrugged him off? Was that half time or full time? Did you see that?
With Martinez?
Sorry, Fernandez come over to him.
Was that end of the game?
Was it? I'm just saying because he sort of pulled his face and shrugged him off. I don't know.
He did right. He did right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was happy with it. I give him an extra half a point on his rating because of that. But I just wondered what it was about,
But I don't know what it was about.
He's a rat, and I'd do this. I'd probably just smack him. I wouldn't shrug him off. I just,
Okay, well, I'll talk about Grealish.
Sorry, we don't condone violence. I've just been going on about that. I wouldn't smack him, but I'd give him a proverbial smacking. A pretend, like a fantasy film where they pretend to do something, but then it goes back to reality and nothing's been done.
I think in the first half, Grealish didn't get much of the ball. It was all going out on the right with KDB and Bernardo. I think that's where the action was. Grealish didn't get much of the ball, but he didn't do anything with it. That was what was disappointing me. He didn't really drive at the defender when he was one-on-one, when he was on the edge of the box, which is what you want to see. Yeah, he did one good pass to Haaland, which he had the shot and Gundogan was offside. Otherwise, that was really...
Yeah, that was a shame. Because, from where we were, I thought he'd come from an onside position, but it was well offside, wasn't he? Yeah.
But he was ball watching. And that was the problem. He was ball watching and he was just walking back on side. If he was thinking instead of watching, because he thought Haaland would score. All he had to do was take that extra step. He was going to be the first one on the ball anyway because he was closest to it. It's a shame. That'd been great to score for him to score a hat-trick. So yeah, I think I've got an agenda, but Grealish for me was very poor. If I don't believe, I said it last week, I don't believe these niggles that Pep talks about, because if it's niggles, someone said Grealish was probably still hungover and he played that part. He did play that poorly, and I actually think, for me anyway, it's opened the door for Phil Foden, because Phil Foden came.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah.
And.
If you're being cruel, you'd say Haaland's opened the door for Alvarez, but that's never happening.
Never going to happen. But we said this last week. Haaland's scored 1 goal in 7 now, in 7 appearances. It's not good. That's got to affect your confidence now. We said it in the game against Brighton where he had a couple of chances to score. He didn't, and then he had another chance and he passed it to Foden. He chickened out. He shirked the responsibility. And I think that's down to confidence. You said something similar. So that's the concern. That's why I wanted him to play against Brentford. Even a few minutes, try and bag a goal, try and get your confidence. When he's firing and he's confident, if you look at his last 7 games, you think, wow, the guy's got 50-odd goals this season. How? You say how? Because his last 7 games have been not very good.
The good thing is he's still probably undroppable despite all that.
That's it. But at what point does he become droppable? If he doesn't score for 7 or 8 games, does he become droppable? But the final talking point has to be Ilkay Gundogan. Another fabulous game. He's had a fabulous 2 or 3 months. He said it himself, it's been probably one of his best seasons. He's played the most games, most important games at the end of the season. He's been playing regularly. He said it's good for his rhythm and his form and everything else. He's been banging in the goals. He's got afters and goals. In the last 6 games, he's scored 6 goals, 2 assists. Fantastic return. And he's, same as last season against Aston Villa, he's made the difference. He's done, I saw an interview he did before the cup final with Julian Lescott. He asked him about his future, and it's all this we wait and see. But how much do you want Gundogan to stay? On a scale of 1 to 10, are you desperate?
I think the decision's been made, mate. I don't. At this late stage, he's decided, and it's not good. I just think it's been made. If it hadn't been made, I think we'd know about it. So what's the point? Oh, we'll know after the Champions League final. So it tells me he's got a deal somewhere. Someone's offered him better than what we can offer him for his last. His swan song, if you like, because he's getting to the, and it's got to be pretty good because let's face it, he can't, it's brilliant for him at our place at the moment, but obviously it's not totally what he wants.
Yeah, no, I understand, and they asked Pep, and Pep said Cheeky's working on it. Well, blimey, it's working on the last second minute. I don't doubt they're still trying to get him to stay. Like they're still trying to get Sane to stay, and we all knew he was.
It's like the same with Pep. If we do, fingers crossed, if it all goes well next week, and we do beat Milan, Milan are bloody good. But Gundo, where else can he go? I mean, what a time to sort of go, if you like, and move on to somewhere else. You can't do a lot better. And people saying the same about Pep, aren't they? Well, he's done that. So, I mean, obviously he's got a contract, and he's got loyalties, of course, and he seems to love us now. But Gundogan perhaps doesn't love us as much as Pep does, so he probably is more likely to move on.
Well, I think Gundogan's got more options than Pep. Because Pep hasn't got the options, really.
No. Well, from a playing point of view, I think Pep's got the world. I mean, Pep has the world if he wants.
But where can you go that he'll get that?
That's what I'm saying. But anyone could offer him anything, whether it's what he wants is another matter. I'm saying Pep's got the world, and Gundo's got a little bit of that as well because of all his credibility in the bank. And this yesterday, he'll just make that his stock rise even higher.
My problem with Pep is, yes, anybody would take him, but who would he take? He's not going to play in England. Not going to go in Spain. Been to Germany. What's left? Italy.
It's a great position to be in, isn't it? I mean, and Gundo's probably in a similar boat in a playing point away.
I think the difference is Pep's going to need years to drag somebody else to the top. If he goes to Italy or France, it's going to take years. The guy's in his 50s now. Is he going to be wanting to do that? I just think he's got his contract. He said he's going to honour it. I hope he does. And that next season, if we can't get the treble this season, next season is because of the Champions League win. The following season is unprecedented. You've got Cup Winners' Cup, the Super Cup. You got the World Club Cup. You've got 2 more trophies to go for, as well as the 4 proper domestic ones and the Community Shield. And they could just turn around and say, we can get 7 trophies. Why don't we? That's worth sticking around for. Gundogan leaving. I'm going to be really disappointed, not disappointed, but sad, because I think he's shown what he can do. He's proven himself in the last 3 or 4 seasons as indispensable. And there were a lot of fans who used to criticise him, say he can't play with Fernandinho, he's too slow and all that. No one's talking about his pace anymore. And it's sadly the fickle nature of a lot of football fans. When City were, especially that season when Liverpool won the title, they're only won in 31 years. He got a lot of all the Premier League titles. I think I can't remember the last time Liverpool won the league. But anyway,
from a playing point of view, wherever if Gundo does go, the thing is he's been released, and you hit the nail. Well, you've said it early on when you talked about John Stones. I mean, you've got John Stones and Rodri. It keeps giving Gundo more. He's not going to get that going somewhere else. He's not going to look the same player. I don't think that he's looking at the moment because of who's got around him.
It's the piece of the jigsaw fit together to become double the jigsaw, if you understand. It's that 1 + 1 = 3, that kind of thing. Because when players leave, look at Sterling. Sterling looks bobbins. Delph looked rubbish when he left. Look, most players look rubbish when they leave. One thing I forgot this about Grealish. There was a cross that KDB put in the second half, in the early stage of the second half before we scored the second goal. 2 players. I think one of them was Haaland. 2 players tried to get on the end of it. Grealish was standing outside the box. And I remember the commentator said, and I felt the same at the time, if Sterling was playing, that's how Sterling scores. He comes in at the far post, gets the tap in, and Grealish was just hanging out. It's crazy. But look, if Gundogan goes, I think he will. Does he deserve a statue? Yes, he does. I think.
Like the terracotta. So someone to put a picture of the terracotta warriors up, in China. It'd be like that at the Etihad after the next few seasons. Had that many statues.
Question: he's been here 7 years. Would you give him a statue for what he's done for us?
You would, but it gets to a point where you think, well, what's going on with statues? It's
look. If you give one to Gundogan, KDB is going to get a statue.
Yeah.
Okay. Haaland, when he leaves, if he goes after 3 or 4 years and has scored 150 goals, well, surely he deserves a statue. Where does it stop?
I mean, you dig a hole, don't you? And you have to. The trouble is, once you start digging, you keep having to, and it does get a bit silly. But yeah, it is.
But the point is, I mean, Vinny got one, Aguero got one, and David Silva.
Yeah, I mean, United. Look at United as an example. Yeah, they could have statues for a lot of their guys. The Beckhams, the Scholeses, the Giggses of this. Well, perhaps not Giggs, but they could easily have that. So it is where the hell do you stop this? You know what I mean? It's difficult.
Let's go through some quick comments. Spencer Mark, how you doing, mate? Great day out, and showed me there's a hell of a lot of Reds. Very bitter
United fans and Arsenal fans are probably the most disillusioned and horrible fans at the moment as far as City are concerned.
Yeah, Bray says they would have offered 2 years for Gundogan. I'd have offered him 2 years. He's young. He's still got plenty.
I'm fairly sure they did. I'm fairly sure they have offered him 2, Ray. And I mean, is it that much difference to go for 3 years somewhere else?
I don't. To be honest, I don't think.
I think he's made his mind up, mate. I think he's made his mind up. You know, obviously, if City had offered him 2 years at the start of this season, but I think they dragged the feet. I think they dragged the feet, and Gundo's got principles. He's probably thought, well, he should have done that at the start, guys, and I can appreciate that.
I don't know. I mean, it could be that he wanted 3 years, and we're offering him 2, or 2 years. We're offering him. I think we're offering him 1 initially, and now we've offered him. And he's, but part of me says, look, you know. Maybe he feels he's spoken to somebody and he's offered to go there and he feels it's hard to back out.
Yeah, his family. He's got his family thing to think about. We've got all this in the back. We know what families are like ourselves, you know, from normal point of view. So these players have all that to put up with as well.
Got plenty of money. Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's certainly not going to be a money thing. My lads brought me a cold can. At last, it's only 40 minutes after I asked for it. Anyway.
And I mean, don't forget. I mean, obviously, he's got has he got coaching badges? Has he been doing his coaching side? Hasn't he? I think Ilkay. There might be something in line with that, you know, where he's going to go somewhere where he can obviously eventually be a coach or something like that. You don't know. You just don't know. That could be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
he's looking at his future. He's looking at his future away from football because he has to where he is now.
I mean, part of me would have liked him to stay at City and complete his coaching and be a player coach at City. Part of me would have liked that because, you know, 2 more. I just thought 2 more years under Pep. That second year, next year, he's a starter for me at the moment. The year after might be his transition out, but then to be a coach, and it's possible he could have, you know, like Liverpool's old boot room. He could have just followed Pep and been the manager.
Yeah, I think he's proved his leadership abilities. All right, they're not always perfect. I always criticise our captains on the day sometimes for how we don't get a grip of things, but you know he does have that leadership side as well.
Yeah. So I mean, on the other hand, you could say, well, Vinny's doing all right. Vinny will be knocking on the door for that as well. And as Chris says, Kovacic has been up with City. That kind of makes you feel, because of his age, someone's going.
Yeah, and also that tells me he's going to spend 2 years with Pep, probably get a 3-year contract, and then obviously a new man will decide whether he's going to spend his last couple of years with us.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, I'm not sure who Kovacic is there to replace. Is it Bernardo? Probably not. Is it Gundogan? Probably is. So,
looking at his style, I don't know much about Kovacic, but what I've read up the last couple of days, and obviously his ball carrying abilities, etc., etc. Yeah, he seems a Pep player. It's not usually our demographic, 29. It's usually a bit old for Pep, but as I say, Pep's only got a couple of years left. Perhaps not thinking perhaps forward thinking as we normally do.
But 29 isn't too old.
No, that's what I'm saying. He'll come in, but for us, it probably has been in the past. You know, Pep's building teams over 6, 7, 8, 9 years, but now it's getting to the last 2. City and Pep have to look to the future, and I think that might come into buying players now. Obviously, a bit more of looking at the immediate next 2 years rather than looking in the 5, 6, 7 years.
It might also be that we're going to get hopefully a younger player as well. That's one of the reasons about Jude Bellingham. I mean, you might say, well, Jude Bellingham was good enough just to get in and be a starter straight away. But if you'd lost Bernardo, you'd lost Gundogan, and you got Kovacic and Bellingham, that's perfect for me. I don't like the idea of losing 2 players. I really don't like, you know, 2 of our 3 attacking midfielders are gone. That's hard to recover from.
Yeah, you got to believe perhaps McAtee can do a job.
No, it's Foden. Foden's the one.
I mean, as coming back and as another squad player in that sort of position, if you like, to work alongside people like Kovacic and stuff like that, you know, to learn. And obviously, Foden's still learning all the time. But he's his own player, isn't he? He's got certain abilities, perhaps people like Kovacic and certainly McAtee haven't got at this stage.
I think the one difference between. Funny thing is, I've never analysed it, and I'm trying to stand back and analyse it. I think Foden loses the ball more than Gundogan. But then I watch stuff and I see Gundogan losing the ball as well when he tries a bit too much. And that's what I think, I've said it many times, where Pepper said that Foden will be an attacking midfielder when I think just he needs to mature enough not to basically lose the
I think
ball.
Foden's been unlucky. He got that appendix thing just at a time. He was, he could be firing at the moment, and he's having to build himself in again now. Which it was just unlucky, and that's how life is. Sometimes you're unlucky.
I mean, I'm still hopeful that if we do lose Gundogan and Bernardo, we've got Foden. Maybe McAtee, like you say, could be on a squad player. I don't mind that. But then we need 2 midfielders because you need Kovacic will be one. No idea who around Europe.
I mean, we can't. I mean, I don't think there's any cat in hell's chance Bellingham's coming. I mean, I think that's done and dusted, whoever. But I say, so they might have an idea. They've probably got some. They have a number of targets, don't they? They have like a list, don't they, for each position and what they want to do. And that's certainly not changed over the last few years. They'll have Cheeky and Pep will have an idea.
Finally, did you see the guy who runs Man City Global, the Sheikh? He calls his own Sheikh.
I do know. I've seen the Sheikh on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, you follow him. Well, I guess you haven't seen this then. He put a video that Sam Lee had put out of players celebrating at the end of the game. Haaland running to the fans. Haaland's leaving after next season, isn't he? The way he was pumping the fans up as well. Oh, behave. These people. He's only in it for the money. Behave. You don't behave like that if you're in it for the money. Yeah, if that's your sole motivator.
You not follow him, mate. Obviously, you not follow him. Exactly. I say it's funny actually because obviously it's like some guy. Was it Ivan Anthony? I don't know, one of the guys was saying like there's some guy doing fake tickets. You follow him, but you shouldn't be. I said, he said, well, we can't. What I do if someone follows me, what I do is go on their profile. There's nothing untoward on it. I'll follow them back, and that's what if people follow me. I have the decency of following them back. A lot of people I don't. A lot of people follow what are you doing. There's a lot of dodgy ones out there.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. So I might follow a total knob, but I've not seen that initially when I've followed him back either. Until you see it, there's not a lot you can do. But I'm not being held responsible for other people being cocked up by guys because I follow them. It's not. I try and follow everyone back who's reasonable. When they're not reasonable, then I'll stop following them. But it's as simple as that.
I'll give Ivor his due here. I mean, he's not going to hear this. No one's going to pass it on to him. But we fell out for whatever reason. No, I'm actually being nice for a change. It's unusual. Frame it, put it on the wall. But someone set up an account making fun of me, and that was it. And he was just having a go. Put a picture of me that he'd got from somewhere, and it's just there to mock, and that's all. And Ivor said, I'm not going to join in. I've had my issues, but I'm not going to join in with this, which I thought was pretty decent of him.
Yeah, and sometimes you do things you don't even realise you've done it. I mean, you might be a thread and you just haven't got time to look at it, but it's a guy you're usually reliable on or you've had before who's fine, and you just retweet the thread. And it's difficult. Yeah. It's difficult out there. As I say, you try not to cause trouble and trying to stay out of trouble, but it finds you sometimes.
But here's that Sheikh. Okay, your mate, the Sheikh. Okay. And he put some. I read his stuff when I come across it. He's put some decent stuff up.
And usually big. They're usually big accounts as well, aren't they? This is the thing. I don't know what is it, but usually quite large accounts.
Like 20,000 followers or something. 15 or 20,000. Yeah. Anyway, so he retweeted this video that Sam Lee had put out of the players, and he said, "Look at Mahrez, basically not going over to the other players as they celebrated. He's trudging across, looking around. He's not interested." And he's going. That's basically what he said. And then Mahrez retweeted his tweet and said, he said something. He said, "Look,
all he got is if that's what he probably wanted, mate. So it worked."
No, I don't think he wanted it. He said, "Just because you paid for your blue tick, your BS stands out or whatever, and just because I'm walking doesn't mean I'm leaving. All this and that."
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, for me, it's difficult as a fan, we love it. We're not there playing, are we? Well, these players like Mahrez and Ederson yesterday, I mean, of course you enjoy it, but there's a level, because you've not been involved in the 95 minutes or whatever the game. It's obviously a level. It's a job at the end of the day. They're not dyed-in-the-wool City fans like us. So, I mean, you can only hope that they're decent people and they do the correct thing. They don't have to be jumping up and down and bouncing. That's how it is.
I think it's a bit on age as well, because if you look at someone like Cole Palmer, Rico Lewis, they would have a great time. So what's the Rico Lewis?
I remember, was it Arsenal a couple of years back, and the camera was on me when we scored, and I was happy. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't bouncing up and down. I said, no, I'm 60 odd. I'm not going to bounce up. I mean, we scored a goal against Arsenal in a league game. I'm not, it's not your Champions League final in the last minute. Yes, I will be bouncing around if we score in the last minute and win it. There's a big difference. When you're older, you've seen a lot, as you said there with the players. A lot of them are maturer. They've seen things, and they're not going to be doing what Rico Lewis and Phil Foden are doing. Of course, they're not.
Well, Foden played a little bit. Rico Lewis didn't play. Palmer didn't play. But they're City fans. Yeah. They're young. They're buzzing. They're enjoying the moment. Yeah. I saw Alvarez. You've got
to enjoy the moment, and we don't enough, do we? Yeah. I don't rub it. I won't be rubbing it in United fans' faces when I go in work tomorrow, right?
No,
I'm damn well they'd be doing it to me, but I'm not that sort of person. I'll just, I'll be happy. I'll do a song as I get in the shop. Everyone will hear me, from right down the other end of the shop. We've got a big gob. We've got a big gob. Yeah. So everyone will know. Everyone will know Bernard's here, and 50 yards away down the other end, but that's what I do. But then I don't rub it in. But that's how it is.
Blue fans, well, I think we're going to say bye to Bernard. This is his last appearance, because if he's not going to make fun of United fans, he's not welcome on the channel. You gotta.
Well, make fun, mate. I'm just not going to,
Having said that,
rub the noses in it too much, because I'm just not that sort. And I should, but you should live for the day, shouldn't you? You should, when we beat them 5-1 back in November 19, whatever it was, when we beat them, you live for the day. We lived on that for a long time, and that's what football is.
Yeah. No, I did say I'd try and meet up with my brother-in-law and take him out for lunch or something, because he's a United fan, big, who's for a few years been a bit quiet, and this season has been a bit noisier. Well, he's had more to talk about when we meet up every couple of months. He's had a bit more.
I saw a good quote on the BBC, which was someone said typical BBC, and just commented about the game. And the point was that we denied United a cup double. Not that we'd won a double league and FA, but the fact we denied United. That was all that mattered as far as the BBC was concerned. We stopped them getting a cup double, which isn't the way of looking at it.
There was someone, I forgot his name now, but he said basically United were so focused. They weren't focused on winning the FA Cup. You know that? They were not focused on winning the FA Cup.
Stopping us.
Yeah. And that's the wrong. Oh, great one from Ten Hag. Saw it this morning. He said, my players deserved it. Deserve what, mate? You had one shot on target, which was a dodgy penalty. You basically were outclassed, outsmarted throughout the game. You put a big lump on at the end. To launch, honestly, that was your tactic to launch the ball to. What United's tactic that game was, most of the time, hit the ball up, hope for the best. Look for a City mistake. There was very precious little building, and they were under the cosh most of the game. Not the cosh, not tremendous pressure, but.
Well, they were chasing it from 13 seconds in, weren't they? And they never quite.
Gundogan scored 2 goals. We had that Haaland shot that the keeper saved. That Gundogan was offside. That could have and should have been 3 goals. We had 2 or 3 other good opportunities.
KDB should have had a cracking chance, and he just sort of fluffed his shot. Basically, he should have bent it into the corner and beat De Gea, but he got it up.
It's one of those. On our day, we could have scored 4 or 5. So they didn't deserve it. Man United got what they deserved. And that was bog all. They deserved nothing. They got nothing. Spencer Smart reckons Bernardo will be leaving. It's finish on a downer now, isn't it? Players leaving. But look, let's move forward. Only 3 teams, and can you name them all? Only 3 teams in the history, I believe, of English football have won the double more than once.
Arsenal?
I don't know, mate.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I suspect it wasn't Arsenal, because Spurs won the league in 61.
Well, City, obviously.
Hi, Faris, how you doing? Who else?
United must have done.
United have done it.
Yeah. Cool. Liverpool?
I reckon I'm going to have a check. But
there was a funny stat yesterday, saying that in the history of the top flight football, only 4 teams have scored 150 goals or more in a season. Did you see that one?
Yeah, and
that was an option. And the other 3 were Manchester City.
I have to be honest, mate. I made a mistake the other day. I made a mistake when I said I was disappointed that we've scored 150 goals now. It might have been yesterday when I talked about Pellegrini and said Pellegrini team had got 169. So what's this attacking thing with Pep? I made a mistake. Pellegrini's team got 156. I think Mancini's team scored a lot. Pellegrini's got 156. Pep's got 169. Back in the day, 4 or 5 seasons ago, and then this one. No, Faris is on. I'll give Faris a little bit of time. I think you're right. We didn't play particularly well, overall. I think you're right. But the thing is, we didn't play particularly well, but we played well enough. I think that's what's important.
That's all you need. That's all you can do. And I mean, you look at United's treble back in the day. They had a bit of luck. They did well enough, and that's all you can ask. They didn't blaze the way to a glorious treble as people like Beckham had claimed. Obviously he's come on whinging and moaning about how wonderful we are. No surprise, Cockney red. I mean, it's as simple as that. And no one does. It's not that sort of thing. They say it's a lot up there. There's a lot of stress. And if you can just win the game, that's good enough. I'm sorry, when it gets to this stage, it's good enough.
I tell you what, I'm having to hold my hands up again and admit I'm wrong. I mean, once was bad enough. Arsenal have done the double more than once. They've done it 3 times, actually. I should have.
Yeah, I thought Arsenal might have been up there.
Yeah, because obviously I know the 70-71 because that's where my history goes back to. I'd forgotten about 97-98 and 2001, 2002. So Arsenal have done it 3 times. Chelsea have done it once. United have done it 3 times. Obviously, City have done it twice now. The other teams, can you name 1, 2, 3, 4 other teams that have got a double then, Bernard?
Well, I've got a double. Oh, Tottenham got a double, didn't they?
Yeah, Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham have got a double. You said Liverpool, didn't you?
Well, you said Liverpool. So Liverpool have got a double, but not a...
Is there any that are not in the Premier League now?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're only talking, what? Villa? Villa?
Yeah, Villa got it under George Ramsey.
Forest didn't do one, did they?
No. Basically, you've done all the recent ones. George Ramsey did it in 18.
It'd be an old one. We never,
no, you've heard the club. You've definitely.
Oh, no, a new one. Right.
No, it's not a new one, but you've definitely heard of the club. It's not in the Premier League.
Oh, right. Yeah. And then in the Premier League.
They're not in the Premier League. They're in Championship.
Oh, right. Just trying to think who's massive in the old days. Won't be Bolton or anything like that.
Weren't Bolton, weren't Sunderland.
Won't be Sheffield Wednesday.
Sheffield Wednesday are now in the Championship.
Villa? Not Villa.
You've done Villa already.
Go on, mate, because I'll be here all day. I'll go through everyone. Go on.
They're a proud team.
Oh, Preston.
Yeah, Preston North End. 1888-89.
Yeah, when I said Bolton, that was who I was probably thinking of, actually. I forgot Preston, yeah.
Let's see what Forrest has got to say, because he's... let's see. Yeah, you're quite late. We're about an hour in. I'll go through these points. Simon says, I don't even think we played that well yesterday. We seemed a little sloppy at times, getting one out in the Champions League final, not picking up any knocks, still managed to beat. Look, we were much better than them. And this is the thing. City fans are saying we haven't played well, and we're still miles clear of them. You know, any pundit that comes on and says, oh, you know, United need 4 or 5 players and they'll challenge City. No, they won't. No, they won't. We've seen 14 points. The gulfing class is immense. And actually, if we had something to fight for, here's a question, Ben. If
the 14 points flatters them this season.
Yeah. But if we had to fight, if Arsenal hadn't bottled it, if we had to beat Brighton and Brentford to win the league, do you think we'd have beaten Brighton and Brentford?
I think we would have. I think we would have grafted through it and won them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think because the way we were playing at the time, I think we'd have done it. I mean, obviously, we changed the teams, dropped 7 players. It's going to be a bit dishevelled. So
look at that team yesterday. 10 changes to the Brentford game. So that says it all.
Yeah. So I think United were lucky to be 14 points behind. It should have been, at least 17 to 19 points behind, really, in my opinion. And if one Rashford, Rashford was offside Rashford was offside that goal at Old Trafford. If we'd beaten them there, they'd have been 20 odd points behind us. That's a 6 pointer. So they were not in our league, and so buying a striker, buying a couple of midfielders and a couple of defenders or whatever isn't going to get United up to City's level. If City play at this level, United have got no chance. City is still, look, we flopped the last 2 games. We still got 89 points. We still got a ton of points, and we stuttered at the start of the season. So, I think anybody wants to beat us next season, they're going to have to get 90 points plus. I think I said it at the start of this season. If you want to beat City, you're going to get a minimum of 90 points. If Arsenal have got 90 points, they're the beaters this season. So that's the benchmark. United, they had got 75 points. So they're miles off it. So we are miles better than United. If we turned up properly, we stuff them. Congrats on the win, absolutely. Well, you're a City fan, Faris. We're all City fans. We didn't play well. KDB was, man, that's why he was dragged off. Grealish and Bernardo were ineffective. Wow, he's sticking it in. Thought Gundogan, Rodri and Stones were the better players. Do you change the lineup against Inter? I would probably have. This is the only thing I think. There's only three. Yes, you do. You do, Faris, because Edison comes back. Okay, Edison's back. Question for you, Bernard. Aki or Akanji? Well, you got Walker. Three positions actually. Walker and Akanji. That's who I'm going to talk about first. What do you do in defence?
I probably think Walker's probably needed more against United than he will be against Milan. So I would say Walker will probably drop out unless there's. I'm
going to throw it out to you. Stones, Diaz, Akanji, Aki. Is that your back four? Okay. I agree. The only other position I think is up for grabs, Foden or Grealish.
Temperament-wise, I mean, Grealish, if he just gets up and gets on with it, will be an asset. If Grealish against Milan reacts to every kick, every punch, every pinch, everything he's going to get, he's going to be a pain in the bum. So I would say, all right, Foden's not got a perfect record again. Whoever plays in that position or whoever plays, they've got to have their heads. They've got to have their heads on. Simple as that. And I worry more about Grealish perhaps than Foden. So I would play Foden. But if Grealish can just rein it in, I think Grealish will be superb against him because I think he'll draw all the fouls. He'll get all the things. So if he keeps his head, Grealish all day long. But I've not 100% faith he can do that.
It's come to one thing where you're picking Grealish because he can win free kicks. But part of you wants him to win free kicks.
Because we've got to win ugly next week. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty on Saturday against Milan. I don't care what, Milan won't play particularly pretty football, and we won't be allowed to play pretty football. It'll be stop-start. It'll be horrible. We'll have to graft a lot more than we did against United. Yeah. It's going to be difficult. And yes, Grealish could be, what's the word? Someone who's a bit. What's the word when someone's a bit temperamental, more of a grafter. He's cream on the. He's the cherry on the cake. But he could be a little, but he could be super. He could be brilliant for this game. It could be a total disaster. And Pep have to make that decision. I'm glad he has to make it, not me.
I'll answer Forrest's question. Forrest were in the Champions League only 3 times, won it twice. How is that possible? Because it was only the winners of the league that got in. So
So they won the league, went in the European Cup, won it, got re-entered because they won it. So they won it again. They got re-entered because they won the European Cup. So that's why they were in it 3 times.
Yeah, but the point was they're playing like the champions of Sweden, or there's no 3 teams from England. There's no 4 teams from Spain. Yeah, there's no.
Good English teams did very well in Europe at that stage because, say, you had a little bit of luck with your draws, but good English teams would always usually beat a good European team. It's probably all right, probably say that now, but I mean, it's certainly at that time when you only had to play, as you say, 3 or 4 rounds, it was easier.
Look at Real Madrid. Okay, use them as an example. Once, like last season, they had to beat Chelsea, City. Who else did they beat? On the way, was it Liverpool? They beat Liverpool in the final, but on the way they beat Chelsea, City. Was it Bayern Munich or whatever? They had 3 top, or PSG or whatever, 3 top teams to beat before they even got to the final. So they had 4 top teams. Let's forget about the group games. Normally, in a Champions League or in the European Cup, okay, you were not going to be playing against that caliber. We'll have a look. You're not going to be playing against that caliber.
I mean, when Real Madrid won all the early cups, I mean, they were, may as well just, give it in the first place half the time, the way they were, because they were so outstanding to everyone else. Everyone was rubbish that they played because they were so good.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's what obviously, now I'm looking at the 1980 European Cup final. Okay, here we go. Forest had 4 games to get to the final. Okay, here are who they played. Osters IF. You could even if I say Oosters IF, can you tell me where Oosters IF are from, Bernard?
Austria.
No, Sweden. From Sweden. They beat them on aggregate 3-1. Okay, then they played Ajax Bitesti. You never heard of them?
European. They're Eastern European, by the sounds of it. I don't know.
They beat them 4-1.
Yeah.
Okay, Dynamo Berlin. Right, okay. I've never even heard of them.
They've gone them, haven't they? Now I don't know. I don't think they exist anymore.
Dynamo Berlin were beaten 3-2. Okay, they were called Berliner Fußball Club Dynamo. Okay, I think they were founded only in 1966. I think they still doesn't say.
Well, they founded when the Berlin Wall went up, I assume. That's why they obviously as an East German team, I assume.
Yeah, was by the way, with Dynamo in the name. I don't know what they're up to now. Just look. No, they are still about. They are apparently still about, but you've never heard of them. Capacity in their ground, 12,000. Semi-final, Ajax. They beat them 2-1 on aggregate. That's the route to the final. 4 games, okay, against 3 teams you've never heard of. And that's how you do it.
Yeah, you only have to beat 1 or 2 teams. You win the cup. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, 4 games. And the 1981 European Cup, they had who's that?
Who did Villa have in theirs? Have you got theirs?
I'm not got. Well, I'm just trying to find. Let me just go back.
I think Villa had a difficult finalist or semi-finalist and all that, but to the final, I don't think they were anything brilliant.
Forest won in 81, didn't they? And was it 81 and 82?
Did Villa win it after Forest as well?
Yeah, I'm trying to work out. Villa won in 1982. So let's have a look at 82. All right, here's Villa's route to the final. They played Valur. Where do you think Valur are from?
France.
No, they're from Iceland.
It's your pronunciation through me.
Well, all right. I think it's Iceland or Norway. Let's have a look. Valur. I don't know how to pronounce that. Reykjavik.
Yeah, we've never heard of him anyway, but I still haven't heard of him now.
Iceland the whole of Iceland's got a population of 300,000. Then they played our friends at Dynamo Berlin. Then they played Dynamo Kiev and Anderlecht. 4 games, they're in the final. They win it. So they won it in 82.
They beat a good team in the final, though, didn't they?
Sorry?
They beat a good team in the final.
Was it Ajax?
Was it? I thought they beat German team, was it?
Let me get back. 1982 Cup final. Bayern Munich, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm saying if they beat a good team in the final anyway, at least they got, because Bayern Munich was as good then as perhaps they are now.
Look at the 1980. So we looked at the 80s. Forest were there in 79, weren't they? Right. Trevor Francis scored that goal.
Well, we had one chance, didn't we, when we got beat by Fenerbahce? Simple as that in the 60s. And we should never have been beat by Fenerbahce. They were like, all right, they were better known than those teams you've just been mentioned, Dynamo Berlin's and the like, but it should have been a game we should have won.
Forest, first time they won the European Cup. They beat Liverpool 2-0. AEK Athens 7-2. Grasshoppers. Do you know where Grasshoppers are from?
Zurich.
Yeah, in Switzerland 5-2. FC Köln, that's Cologne, Germany, 4-3. And then they beat Malmo in the final, 1-0. But still, only 4 games. And let's be honest, in that, on that run, they played 4 easy teams. Cologne, Grasshoppers, Athens, and Liverpool.
We don't agree with the Champions League, but obviously it is a hell of a difference winning it now to when it was the European Cup. You know, and all credit to teams who have won the Champions League, including the Liverpools and Uniteds, etc. Because Chelsea's, even though they might have slutched away to them, all credit to them because they've done it usually by beating some quality teams.
Yeah, Faris has made a good point. Do you think if City win, you know, Pep was emotional at the end of the game. Okay, Pep was emotional, but I think he's trying to work out why. I saw him hugging Gundogan and crying. Okay. No, look, Gundogan was the first player he bought when he arrived at City. You know, even though Gundogan was injured, so Pep thinks obviously very highly of him. Is that because Gundogan's leaving? Is it because Pep's leaving if he wins the Champions League? I don't think so. I mean, you're trying to read sometimes too much into things.
Yeah. I think what we have to consider, and this is my opinion, like the players, the amount of stress on that team at the moment is incredible. Absolutely. Let's use Pep's words, incredible. It really is. As fans, I mean, it's bad enough, but the amount of pressure on those guys at the moment, I'm not surprised that they're crying. And it's nothing to do with whether they're leaving or anything's happening particularly. It's just being caught up in the moment. And we're going to see plenty more next week of this, and people are going to put 2 and 2 together and make 5. It's nothing. It's to do with the whole process of what City as a club, with the problems with the FA, etc., etc. Yeah. City's a team with what we're trying to do, yet people aren't appreciating it. Don't forget, there's no one appreciates this apart from City fans. No one gives the top. No one's giving any City any credit at all for this, apart from City fans and our own people and the odd journal who's favourable. Not many. And the stress on City team, Pep, the backroom staff to less extent, and the players is unbelievable.
Yeah, let's look at absolutely intense game yesterday. Any doubts about Walker's fitness? I think Walker might not play. It will be an ugly game against Inter because Inter are basically looking for a 0-0 in penalties, I suspect. Beat PSG.
You want a nick or a free kick and a Dzeko header and something like that. This is what they'll try and do. But they might surprise us. But I doubt it.
Faris reckon Oster's IF is a shawarma shop. And it's Oster's with it. Or that's why I said Oosters or something like that. Stones, what a number. Absolutely trust. Stones was fantastic. He's incredible. You got to remember, it's not the treble, it's the tremble on this channel. Ali, cut you well, buddy. Let's go through some comments. As much as I love Kev, didn't think he and Grealish had quite the game yesterday, even when Kev managed to get to assist. Yeah, look, give Kev. I think his first assist was a bit lucky. He didn't really have much to do with that.
I've watched it a few times. I'm still not sure it actually hit him, but I mean, I
think it hit him. I think was it Lindelof got ahead to it and then he hit KDB. Too many misplaced passes. Look, I don't think it was the best of games, but
the thing is with Kevin is if he doesn't do much, but he does something, that something's usually important, and that's in games like that, especially. That's all you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chelsea Champions League, they'd done something in that game before he got injured. If he'd just done something, we might not have lost it, but he didn't, and that even though because he was poor, but he did something yesterday, even though he was poor, and we need him to be poor and do things. It sounds daft, but he can. He's got that attribute to do that.
As Faris says, same for the Villa game last season. We were losing. Everything the team had done was gone. And when he turned it around, Pep brought it down after the game. The stakes are high. The pressure's high. The relief and the outpouring of emotion. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't crying at the end of the game. I was screaming and screaming and screaming. I couldn't stop shouting and screaming. And it was that outpouring of emotion. Once we were on a roll and we started scoring, we knew it was coming. We knew we were going to win that. And I very rarely had those emotions because I never think we're coming back. But I knew we were coming back. We just needed that goal. And then we just absolutely, rushed past Villa. And we don't feel it, as Bernard says, we don't feel it like the players do. We don't feel it like the staff do and the management because that's their life pretty much. That's their job and their emotions and their life. For us, it's our emotions, but it's not our job and our life. We've got jobs to do. We've got families and stuff. Their whole lives revolve around playing football for Man City. And they're in that pressure cooker all the time. So the relief is palpable. Yeah, Paris says, luckiest 2 assists I've seen in my life. Well, no.
So you've got to be there. You've got to be there in the position to get a deflection or whatever. You've got to have your body in the way.
I'm not having it totally The first goal, yes, because it just hit his head and he was lucky. But the second one, it was a good pass.
Well, it was a plan. That was a training ground routine. We've done it from corners, and we did it from it. And United didn't pick him up, and tough.
Yeah, he looked. You could see, and actually on the BBC commentary, they said that maybe there's people hanging around the edge of the box as KDB seen him or whatever, and he's there. He's looking at the ball, and he just looks across at Gundogan, and then he puts it on. Maybe he overhit.
I think he put a finger up, but I think that was to the United players, wasn't it, to say what he was going to do, something like that.
Only 1 o'clock, Bernard. It's early for that.
Yeah, one finger, wasn't we? Oh, sorry.
We're going to get taken off the air now. This is a family show. Even though we won, I felt some of our players were not match sharp. However, we won. That's it. That's why I wanted them to play a little bit against Brentford. But hey, all our players who are important got a run out yesterday. All the guys who are going to start against Inter, I think all of them played. Possibly Aki is the only one, and Edison.
There won't be anyone unless there's a major injury crisis or niggle crisis that will be playing that didn't feature at some stage yesterday.
All the haters calls empty seats. United section only had about 3 fans left up there, and they got out quick. Casimir's tackle was very dirty. Should have been sent off, in my opinion. If not for a red card for that, he should have got a yellow for the tackle and a yellow for feigning injury to win a free kick. Yeah, it was disgusting. Right, guys, and I thought we'll do about 20 minutes. I'll have a chat with Bernard. I'll do about 20 minutes. I'll get on with my work. Have a night to eat today, yeah. Got to go and sort that out. Oh, go on. Let Faris have the last word. Yesterday's game will be important to get match fitness and sharpness for Inter game. I definitely think will be better. Will it be enough? It better bloody be enough. Bernard's paid.
Well, it'll have to be enough, won't it?
It better be enough because Bernard's good.
It won't be pretty. It won't be pretty, but hey.
Yeah, Bernard's going out there. So as Klopp says, do you think I should be booking my hotel for next year, Bernard, to get it cheap?
No.
Alec, we're having a laugh here, but my mum's not okay. I've got to be honest. With you, I don't want to finish on a sad note, but I'll go and see her today. My wife was very happy yesterday. Because my mum's been struggling to eat. She's not in the mood. She's in a pretty bad way. I mean, my sister had made some chicken soup for her, and she said, "Oh, she had me chicken soup, and she had me rice pudding." I mean, my wife was dead chuffed because it's been difficult to get my mum to have anything. She's not in hospital anymore. She's at home, so I think you can imagine the future if you're not going to be in hospital anymore. If you're going to be back at home, you're going to be with your family,
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, like you got about personal lives there. I mean, these players, who's to know what's going on in their personal lives as well?
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. It's been on ages. Anybody who's stuck it out this long, who's been here for an hour and 12 minutes or 17 minutes, thank you so much. If you're watching it, please give us a subscribe. Not a lot of people watching, actually, which is a bit of a shame.
No, they're still asleep or still drunk.
I mean, it's interesting.
The Community Shield, will it be against Arsenal now?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it definitely against Arsenal. I mean, the thing is, I look at the numbers of the people watching, and it's on 82 have watched this. And the thing is, I reckon that'll go up to maybe 150 by the end, which is, I always say, it's decent for this channel. I've got 1,200 subscribers, just under 1,200 subscribers. So if I can get 200 people watching, 150 to 200, that's quite nice. We've got another subscriber today. So it's all, it's all in a bit of fun. But I guess with you as well, Bernard, it's nice to get some good numbers occasionally, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. At the end, you're happy if 2 or 3 people appreciate what you're trying to do. Because you get stick, as you know, and it's just nice, that you do it and someone says something nice about you. I mean, I do a lot for, like, there's a guy called Brandy, does a lot of artwork and stuff. I'll always retweet his stuff, and he thanked me today, and I said, look, mate, I'll always do it, and I'll hope to do a little special for him during the closed season. All the artists, the City Shikar, who's a big City fan who does artwork as well. Yeah. And that's what you got to do. City fans, we should all we get a lot of stick, but we should all stick together and support each other. We're not always perfect. We're not always right. We have our thoughts and opinions, but we love the club and we love what we do, and it's nice to get a little bit of support.
Yeah, right. I'm going to go off and start chasing up people who owe me money. Business-wise.
Bring it down to business.
Business-wise, I've got a few people who owe me money. I'm all
right. I paid my debts. I'm fine.
Debts. No, I got one beggar. I'll even give. I won't say who it is, but I did a corporate gig down in London, and I booked somebody else. So I paid the other person for doing the work, and this corporate client hasn't paid me, and they should have paid me almost 3 weeks ago. And it's a lot. Obviously, if I paid somebody else for doing the work, and obviously my work, and I've had to go to, it's a fair few quid involved. I've got a few people who haven't paid me, so I'm going to have to, go through my stuff and then decide who I'm going to pass on to get chased. I think it's that come to that time where it's my money. I need it. I want it. I want to spend it. And I'm going to go and chase some people. So that's a wonderful way to spend my Sunday and then go and see my mum. Thanks a lot, Bernard. It's a lot longer than we expected.
Cheers to everyone who's been on. And thanks, Ray. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, coming on. Enjoy your Sunday. Just don't forget this. We are 3 Peters. We've won the Premier League 3 times on the bounce. We've won the double for the 2nd time. Only 3 clubs in the history of English football have won the double on more than one occasion. And we're one of them. And that's something to cherish. Next season, I'm already looking. I'm obviously got the Champions League final, but I'm looking forward to next season. This season can be historic. Next season would be potentially even more historic. If we can do it again 4 times, win the league 4 times. If we can, I'll tell you what, if we could win the league 4 times on the bounce, you can do the double. Has anyone done a double? Don't think so. I'm not going to go and check, but I don't think so. But even if they have, I don't care. It'd be something unique. A 4P. I don't know what they'd call that. Because we've already been the Centurions. We've already.
He'll have an asterisk next to it, mate. So I won't worry about
it. Guys, look after yourselves. Enjoy your Sunday. It's sunshine in Manchester. Enjoy the sunshine in Manchester. There you go. Spencer Matt says City will win the quad. I hope so. Guys, look after yourselves. Thanks a lot, Bernard.
Cheers.